Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering. Here we have Aiden on 8cast versus Tony Scaponi on the Epic Gamble. Prolific Twitch streamer, trophy leader. Very much associated with this Epic Gamble build. Started out with Ruby Storm. Really underplayed deck. Put in a ton of work, sharpening it to a razor's edge with the Epic Gamble, direct descendant of those Storm lists, and just, in my view, is cut out all of the trash cards. Ruby Medallion, the 2-mana rituals, a ton of powerful, efficient cards now. Lotus Petal, Grim Monolith. So powerful cards coming around. Bergi, Burning Wish, attacking your opponent from a slightly different angle than the mono black builds. You get to have the power of Ancient Tomb and City of Traders. A really interesting deck. Does kill with tendrils very often, but there are times when I've piloted this deck and just played echo after echo, drawing 7 cards repeatedly. It very much feels like a vintage deck at times, and this is not looking good here for Tony. Hopping in to the actual commentary in the match in front of us, that Ancient Tomb allowed for a Chalice at 1. Now, typically, you're going to want Chalice at 0 versus this deck, in my experience. Lion's Eye Diamond, such a powerhouse card, enabling those Echo of Aeons. Of course, the rest of the mana base, Lotus Petal, Chrome Mox, Mox Opal, those type of effects shut down as well with a Chalice at 0. But 8cast needs those 0 drops, so it's definitely a decision. I have not actually sleeved up 8cast. I'm not sure how I would play this matchup, but Aiden just going pedal to the metal. We have already seen game 1. You got to get back into the tempo of these, going at double speed. Kappa Cannoneer shows up, gets a counter. His brother shows up as well, and the Paraturtles takes it down. We see Force of Negation flipped up in Aiden's sideboard. He's going to be looking to bring in a ton of counter magic to stop the Epic Gamble. He gets to have 4 Force of Will, 4 Force of Negation. This deck is really interesting. In 8cast, I'm probably going to do a Force of Will series after our current You Can Play Legacy series. We just started today. Actually, let's see. This video is going live at 9 a.m. noon. We're going to have a special upload titled You Can Play Legacy. That's legacy decks that are the price of modern decks or less. And eventually, I'm going to want to do a series on Force of Will decks that are also in that kind of range. Now, 8cast, probably closer to $2,000 compared to $1,000. There are some modern decks that are equivalent. I'll have to do a little bit of research, but for the most part, modern decks often are in the $1,000 mark. Selected 6 legacy decks that are very competitive at $1,000 or less, or at least right around that mark, not being super I don't want to use not really being a stickler for it because prices fluctuate. All right. Aiden able to stop that defense grid last game. Like he's going to be mulling. Skip over that. Last game, Bergie showing up too late, but this card does a ton of work in the archetype, generating a massive amount of mana. The boasting, not relevant, but just the 3 mana allowing you to create a ton of extra red. Not really correct to think about it as discounted, because like your spells aren't really discounted. It's just a bonus. Your 0 drops couldn't get any cheaper than they are. So they actually generate mana, which is incredible. Defense grid sticking this time, so Aiden, no counter magic. Either that or he potentially has a way of getting rid of the defense grid at a later point, but seems unlikely. Otawara comes to mind. Good answer to defense grid in kind of the mid game, but these early turns, Tony's deck to be operating very efficiently, utilizing all of his mana, Fence Grid, and then Bergie, and those are significant investments. I mean, Fence Grid's going to pay dividends for the rest of the game, as is Bergie. And those mana sources sticking around. It's not like he needed to use Rite of Flame or Lotus Petal. This is really good for Tony. 5 mana worth of permanence on the battlefield. Has a ton of mana. Overmaster, kind of mana neutral, pay 1, get 1 red out of it. Defense Grid already doing its job, so without any better options in hand, Overmaster actually just being cycled here does add to the storm count. Of course, replaces itself. Not exactly how you draw it up. Grim Monolith. Burning Wish. 2 red, 2 colorless. Form of 3. To the sideboard. Grabs a Shattering Spree. She actually plays and replicates. Gets a red back to Bergie, but he's going to be able to take out this Chalice. And continue adding Storm. Or an Empty the Warrens. Wow, so Empty the Warrens brought in this matchup a ton of goblins. That's going to do it for this game as Aiden scoops it up. Face of a ton of goblins and the Bergie. We are on to the next one. Winner of our first ever CEDH Open, which will return July 31st. Tropical Island first time around. I actually think a lot of CEDH players are going to end up being legacy players as well. Very different vibe, but I love the fact that they actually own the cards for the most part. Go out, get the cards. They're not complaining about it. Enjoying the collecting aspect of it, which is the right way to orient yourself. Constant complaining about the reserve list. That's very unhealthy individual. The world isn't going to give you everything you want without any effort. You actually put in the effort and work toward goals. It feels great. You have to set goals that are attainable. You want to own the entire legacy format. Super easy. Well, that's not going to happen. There are cards that are thousands of dollars. Tabernacle, fringe cards like Chain of Mephistopheles, Labra, but set your sights on something that's attainable, work hard towards it. Just a good self. Constantly make progress towards your goals. Here is basically like a Phyrexian Arena, going to be able to recur this bauble. Also make any type of win condition not uncounterable, but resilient. You know, you throw out a Kappa Cannoneer, they counter it, you can just right back, try again. Does give the deck quite a bit of inevitability. Urza's Saga into Grafdigger's Cage, do we see? A couple of baubles. And I'm not actually sure what the purpose of that was. Maybe I think he might have Flusterstorm. I don't know why he would do that. I can't think of a good reason to do it that way. Fence Grid was already out, so Mindbreak Trap isn't really even remotely possible. I'm not really sure why Aiden would not cast the Grafdigger's Cage before tapping Emery. If Grafdigger's Cage ends up being super important, get it back. I mean, Defense Grid stops any type of interaction. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it really matters very much. Not a whole lot. changing his... I just can't think of a... Fine, let me know if you can think of comments. Building the Storm Count, Chromox, and Monolith. 5 mana available already. Burning Wish. Got some mana floating. Could see a Galvanic Relay. Another Shattering Spree. Man. Oh, he does have a relay. Okay. I'm gonna say, like, Tony's just got, like, blowing up artifacts on his mind. Got a relay for 4. Blowing up artifacts actually not really great here because the Emery can just get them back. Not really sure why the Shattering Spree found. That's if he needs to get rid of this Grafdigger's Cage for a 1-turn window. He does have the ability to do that with the Shattering Spree, but it will be for 1 turn. As Emery can just bring it back. Overmaster. Now this is interesting. Got the defense grid out. Defense grid can be paid for. So Aiden could counter 1 spell, but the next instant or sorcery not going to be one of those things that get countered. Shatter Skull Smashing actually kills Emery. That might be a first time on camera. I'm sure it happens all the time for Tony. I don't know that I've actually seen Shatter Skull Smashing kill a Hate Bear. That's the entire reason for it being in the deck. Emery. And all he had going on. This construct. Turn block. 4/4. Oh, it doesn't make a construct? Interesting. It would have been a 2-turn clock if he used the Ancient Tomb. Make another construct. It would have been 5 and then another 5. Holding up. Yes, Flusterstorm. Which does kind of make sense based off of that kind of weird play pattern earlier on. It did make me feel like he has Flusterstorm. Got a Shattering Spree. Do what he wants to be doing. He's just letting his stuff go. Mox Opal has been shut off as well. Tony actually just passing the turn. Emery doesn't have anything super juicy to bring back. Potentially untap his Monolith. Kind of ramp up. How much mana you need? All right, Horn of Bergi. Discarding the last card in hand. Wow, that's really good. Getting Rite of Flame into Bergi. Grafdigger's Cage has been cleared. Horn of Bounty. It's 2 for 1. Return. Tony's going to be able to exile a card. Get 2 cards that he can play. Lion's Eye Diamond allows him to play those cards from exile much more efficiently. Echo of Aeons can just be hard cast from exile. Empty the Warrens and Rite of Flame. All right. Not bad. Going to be 4 goblins. I think we're going to get an untapped monolith out. Empty the Warrens is resolving. Just 4 gobos. Monolith has untapped. Charging up. Bergie turns sideways. And it's a 2-turn clock, kind of. Emery. Gets a Thought Monitor. It's a real good one here. Drawing cards, setting a clock. Both players kind of within 2 turns of each other. Ooh, Kappa Cannoneer. That represents lethal. A Burning Wish and an Empty. Burning Wish is just exactly what you want. Empty is totally irrelevant here. Tony's going to need to actually win the game. Here into the Abyss. Looking at just 2 life paid to draw, I mean, like 20 cards. This Horn has paid huge dividends. I think it's about 18 cards there. Let me know if that was correct. But it's got to be enough. Absolutely shocked this doesn't do it. A whole ton of artifacts. Storm is 9. Got 9 red. Double black thanks to Opal. Burning Wish for Tendrils. And that is a wrap as the Epic Gamble bests the new kid on the block 8 cast. Oh, Flusterstorm plus Force in hand. The shields went down. And he had some counter magic. Flusterstorm, I don't think, can do it because it was so much extra mana. Boy, that is tough. Now I want to rewatch it and see if Aiden could have played it different.